Well, when starting a new chapter in your life, particularly as a youngster, it's always good to be surrounded by some very astute, hard heads. That was certainly the case when Alistair Copps commenced his harness racing career. Caught up with Alistair to have a chat about his involvement in harness racing. Well, Alistair will speak about those old, astute heads a bit later in the interview, but first of all, Bar O'Reilly and also Alistair tonight. No luck with Alistair, but Bar O'Reilly, another honest performance.
He did, mate. Yeah, he went good tonight. Ash just said he had no luck in the straight. Halfway up the straight, she was looking for gaps, didn't find any. Went the line on the bit. He plugged still in, so he's just got to get a bit of luck, a little horse, and he'll be competitive.
In these particular races where you could probably throw a dart at the dartboard and hit it 8 times, but the 9th one will be the one you miss out on to win the races. There's such a competitive field these days.
Yeah, very even these sort of races, and that's all up to the 20,000 on win races. And he's just got to draw a barrier. Like I said, if he draws 1 or 2 behind the leader or 3 fence, he's always in the firing line. He ran 4th here the other week with a similar barrier draw. So yeah, he's just got to get a bit of luck, but just got to keep coming back. Hopefully you draw a barrier, then he's on the money.
Alistair, no harness racing background, but certainly horses were involved very deeply as far as the family were concerned.
Yeah, it started off, I used to ride horses, had a older sister used to ride show jumpers, so I've always been involved with horses from a young age. From about 5 or 6 started to ride horses. Then it just progressed to pop my head next door to my neighbour. He had some trotters at the time, some paces, and he showed me the ropes, and it went from there. So I got the bug, and that was when I was about 14, still, and just hasn't left me.
And your love for show jumping, you got that from your mum?
Mum, she started to do a bit of riding, and my sister was more into it. So we just all obviously learned to ride. They go riding every weekend. So as young kids, you just tag along, just start to ride, learn to ride. Then just went from there. Yeah.
So who was the gentleman that first introduced you to harness racing then?
He was a hobby trainer called Darryl War. He used to have about 3 or 4 in work, and yeah, just popped head over one day and just had a chat to him. He said, "Are you interested? Just learn to drive one." So we just started from there. And just, gradually worked my way up, get a stable hand licence. I was fortunate enough, they gave me a share in a couple of horses, which won a few races. So that's all helped me get a little bit of money behind me. And then we just progressed to get my trainer's licence and went from there, yeah.
So as a 14-year-old, you started to get an interest for harness racing. 16, you get your trainer's licence, and there was a particular wonderful performer in harness racing that helped you with that trainer's licence.
Yeah, I had obviously going down the Penrith track where we hobble all the time, going down there. So I met the likes of Merv Adams, Ross Adams, David Royal, Paul Lasnik, Ian Thorne. So I sort of met all those guys down there, and they sort of showed me the ropes a bit, which was good. And actually Merv Adams, he helped sign off on my licence, said, yep, he knows what he's doing. And so I got the licence approved, and so I went from there.
They were the astute old heads I was referring to. What a wonderful environment to be involved with, rattling off just those names.
Exactly right. You just learn little things from them all the time down there. They'd always just give you advice, and you just listen to them and just pick up little things along the way. And they were all, like I said, Harold Park trainers at the time. Like I said, Paul Lasnik and Ian Thorne. Ian Thorne had Strome at the time, who were down there. And Ross I think Ross had about 10 or so in work, 12 in work, so I'd drive a bit of fast work for Ross, give him a bit of a hand. And on rainy days, you know what, you always used to get a lot more drives on rainy days. They'd sit back and go, okay, mate, come and drive this one for us. You're already wet, you might as well learn. You got to learn some way. So yeah, so it was all good fun back in those days.
I haven't heard the name David Royal mentioned for so long until we were just having a chat earlier. What an astute trainer and driver David was.
Yeah, exactly right. Obviously he came from the thoroughbred background, being a apprentice jockey and being a jockey and used to train a few gallopers. And yeah, he had a few horses, the same thing. He'd come down the track, just say, mate, can you hop on one for us, just drive one for me? But yeah, it's just the same. You just ask questions along the way, just pick up little things, and you mightn't use their advice for a while, but back in the mind it's always down the track, maybe 5 years, to say, you know what, they suggested something about the horse like that, try it again and just see if it works. So yeah, you're always learning something every day.
Particularly with that group, you had a very smart horse called The Right Place.
Yeah, it's the first horse I actually trained. David Royal was doing some transport for John Smith, and I just said, mate, I want a horse for around 1,500 to 2,000 to start off with. He found him in Melbourne for me, brought him up. Took me about 4 or 5 months to get him going, and he ended up winning his first, I think about 7 out of his first 8 starts, and won his first start at Harold Park on a Friday night. So that was pretty good, taking a horse down there on a Friday night and winning it was pretty good.
It certainly was, no doubt. You spent a lot of time at Harold Park in the glory days, particularly, as you mentioned, Ian, with Stromer.
Yeah, you sort of like watch those horses down there, and like I said, virtually every Friday night we'd be going down there, and Doc Wilson used to drive for me back in those days, and he'd always have a couple of horses too to take down. So virtually most Friday nights you'd be back along Parramatta Road in the traffic trying to get down there, and there's a few close calls. We just made it on the hour because of the traffic, but so most Fridays you're down there. It's the same as space coming here on a Saturday night. You want to have these sort of type of horses and chase the better prize money.
Yeah, that was a wonderful experience with Parramatta Road, then winding your way through those very narrow streets of Vedendale and Glebe. Fortunately, I came from Balmain, so that particular end was pretty sweet, but trying to get those big floats down those narrow streets.
Yeah, exactly right. It's always pretty tight, especially on Parramatta Road. You burn the inside there and you get close to the gutters a few times and things, but just the way it was, and they sort of opened those roads up, made it a bit better than as soon as Menangle come down here, which just takes us about an hour and 10 minutes from Penrith, so it's not too bad. It's a good run now. So.
In the right place, had an unfortunate ending to his career, but did win 19 races for you.
He did, yeah. Unfortunately, won a standing start race at Harold Park one night. He sort of stepped away and he sort of fractured his back hock, and Doc pulled him up straight away. We got him to the vets that night. They operated the next day, put some pins in his fracture. Then next day he got up the wrong way and he sort of snapped it up a bit higher. So they said, unfortunately, mate, we can't save him anymore. So he was one of those horses that set me up, and if he was still alive today, I'd keep him alive, would have kept him in the paddock. If he couldn't race again, he would have been a nice paddock horse to keep around. Lovely, quiet horse, do anything with him. And it was just one of those ones. I've got first horse like that, so it's hard to try and find another one, but you just got to keep going through them. So you always wait for the next one around the corner.
It can be so rewarding or so heartbreaking.
Yeah, exactly, a bit of both. Like I've been lucky in a way. I haven't had many accidents like that where I've lost the horse. Probably him and another one over the years. One did a pedal bone, but he still survived, which was great. But it's always a bit of heartache when you get a nice horse like that and something happens to him.
You mentioned Doc Wilson. Did you do a lot of driving yourself, Alistair?
I drove a few. I had a junior driver claim. I drove a few winners. But just my theory was I was training about 4 at the time, and I was probably driving 3 or 4 times a week. And I just said, no, I want to try and earn some more money, concentrate on the training more. I still drive in trials to get the young ones ready, and if they need a fitness run, I'll drive them myself. But basically, the guys that are out here, like you said, Josh or Chris tonight, they're driving, like I think Chris got 6 drives tonight, things like that. They're driving every time, probably having 30 to 40 drives a week. They're just more competitive, so I just stick with the training. That does me.
And how many horses do you have in work?
Currently got about 8 at work at the moment, so pretty much a full house. That's a maximum I'll take. A few of these older horses that are racing tonight, and also a couple of yearlings coming through. So we always tend to have a couple of young ones come through every couple of years.
Yeah, Josh Gallagher, Chris Geary and also Ashton Lowe, so they all do a very good job for you.
Yeah, for sure. I have those. Cam Hart also, Will Rickson. Will normally drives the outer, but he's up obviously for Dominion heats, and he won on his first start down here. So I try to have a nice little group of those drivers that drive for me. They don't hesitate. I just bring them up, or they ring me and say, mate, I'll drive your horse for you. So that's great. But Josh is probably my mainstay in a way, but he's really good. If he's got to drive another horse in a race, he just gives me plenty of notice. And obviously Will, he drives off for David Thorne and things like that. So when they've got to drive for the big stables, that's fair enough. I'll just use one of the other guys.
It's very pleasing, very strong pool of drivers we have here. You can throw the reins to anyone of 30 and you know you're going to get the job done.
Exactly right, yeah. You can sort of go through a bit of a list and sort of say, right, give them everyone a chance. You've got the Fitzy boys if you need to as well, sort of thing. So there's always someone here you can rely to look after your horse, and that's the main thing. As long as you've got a horse for next week, even though both horses tonight were a bit unlucky, you've got 2 horses for next week. They didn't knock them around, which is the main thing.
The year 2000 Sydney Olympics, everyone from the Northern Hemisphere was heading to the Southern Hemisphere to Sydney. You went the other way.
Yeah, I got an opportunity to go to America. I got a phone call from one of another trainer, Brett Bunfield, who was up here working with Doc Wilson. He said, mate, there's an opportunity to be a groom over in New Jersey for Brett Pelling. So I made the phone call. They said, when can you get here? 2 weeks' time. Got my passport, had it over there, and I was over there for about a year. And so that was a real good learning experience. And it was great.
Yeah, one of those boxes you tick off, and as you said, whatever you learnt then, 15 years' time, you might be able to put it into practice then.
Exactly right, yeah, because over there it was a bit different. They do a lot of heat work, heat training, and even going to the races, they all warm up at least once or maybe twice before the race, and did a lot of swimming over there too. So a couple of other horses now, with a few joint issues, we do a lot more swimming and just fast work, and it's paying dividends at the moment, so it's been good.
And Alistair, when you mention the Barra horses, you've always got to mention Frank Napton.
Yeah, Frankie Napton. So he, himself and Lizzie Heath and the Towers are at Kemps Creek. Their places got reclaimed for the airport, and so Frank and Lizzie have been breeding a couple of horses. Lizzie normally breaks them in, gets them going. And I saw Frank one day and I said, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Oh, I not rule a lot." He said, "Lizzie's got the horses." I said, "Well, why do you mind get your licence back? Can we get a hand bit of track work?" And then Lizzie said, "Well, why don't you just start bringing the horses up to your place and you can take them to the races and things like that." So yeah, it works out really good. And David Ferrugia, he's also stable at my place. He trains a couple, so we're all working together. So it's really good.
Yeah, the three of you there sitting on the bench swapping notes.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, having a bit of a gas bag and so like saying, "You do this, you do that." Even though it says my name as trainer, they all put their bits into. So we're all working together.
Well, always they say three heads are better than one. Alistair, it's been good to catch up with you.
Yeah, thanks, Mick. Thanks for the interview.
Thanks very much, Alistair.
Okay.